Tottenham till I die, Spurs Diehards. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs Diehards. Tottenham till I die.
Hello and welcome to the regular edition of Spurs Diehards TTID. Tonight I've got a good panel for you. We've got a couple of guests here now, good friends of the show. There might be a couple more turning up. It's a busy world, so we'll see if they do. So I'll introduce the guests and then I'll go through the comments. We've already got 20 of you viewing us, which is excellent. So Eugene from the good old US of A, how are you?
I'm good. Big up, everybody. Good to be on the show.
And James, how are you? In the south of England there? James?
It's quite nice in there.
You're frozen, James, I think. James, can you hear me? I think James has an issue. I'm sure it'll rectify itself. So anyway, yeah. So just have a little look in the chat. See who we got. Oh, he's gone a second. We've got a real life friend of mine, Brian Knight here. Evening, Brian. He's saying, hey, Chris. Oh, to Chris Bryant in here. Big up, Chris Barrett. Chris Barrett. Hey, guys, can I get the link? I thought I sent you the link. Hang on, I'll do that for you in a second. Right. And we've already got 20 odd of you in here viewing us already, which is excellent. So get a banner up. Right, Reading 0, Spurs 2. Individual performances. We know what the first team players can do when they're in form or out of form. So I just wanted to go through these one by one and discuss them with the panel. See if we can get James back on. So Eugene, what did you take of Mikey Moore's appearance, and what do you take of what you've seen him so far? He has made 19 appearances last season, but not a fantastic amount of minutes.
Yeah, I think what's going against him is all the hype from the fans. Everybody was touting him as, the next big thing, generational talent, which he might be, but I don't think he's lived up to the hype. He had good moments, but obviously being 17, 18, he's not consistent yet. So I just wish our fans give him time to develop. If up to me, I'd loan him out to a championship side and just let him get game time. He's definitely not ready yet to play for us.
Right, let me come back to you because I've sent a link to James. You with us now?
Yeah. Yes, hopefully.
All right, okay.
Temperamental.
All right, okay. Let's plan up. Yeah, we're just going through the sort of the Reading game, but more I wanted to go more through the youngsters' performances than the game itself. We can talk about the game obviously afterwards, but so we're just going to go through these one at a time. I mean, your comments on what you've seen of Mikey Moore so far this season and his performance?
Yeah, positive. I think it's kind of difficult to judge in pre-season. I guess considering I didn't watch the whole game, I've seen clips, but you can't always draw the best comparison. But yeah, he's looked positive from what I've seen so far, and it's nice to see us playing teams in the country as opposed before we do the whole palaver of flying to New Zealand or something to play somebody. daft.
Yeah. The first
Yeah.
game's Arsenal away on the 31st in Singapore, isn't it? So I wonder if he'll go strong in that. But that's a talk for later. Yeah, I mean, my take on Moore. I mean, we saw him scoring Everton pre-season at Aberdeen, didn't we? And then got a goal against Elfsberg when the other two youngsters scored a joy and Scarlett. And it's probably his best performance was at 20 minutes against AZ Alkmaar in the second half when he was a dribbling menace, wasn't he? He did one good dribble during that game against. Oh, you watched the highlights. Did you see his dribble down the left, Eugene?
I
When he
did.
slipped between two?
Yeah, as I said, he definitely has his moments. He just needs to be more consistent. He needs consistent playing time. So, like I said, if we can load him out to a good championship club, that's going to do him a lot of good. And I can see him making an impact for us in 2 years. Just he's still raw and young.
Just before we go on to Divine, Mikey Moore is 18 in August. He's due a new contract. Mad fact. At 18, Moore can actually change in the first team dressing room because you're not allowed to until you're 18 because you're not an adult. So it's just a mad fact for those out there, like the facts, the 30 odd of you that are watching us now. Right, back to these guys. Alfie Divine, Eugene. You watched the highlights, so I don't know much.
Yeah, just based on what I've heard and what I saw, I think he had one good moment. I think a pass to Solanke that Solanke missed. Other than that, he didn't do much. I know he was highly touted. Some really rate him. I'm just not sure. Given that we're buying youngsters, and I'm not sure, is he an 8 or is he a 10? If he's a 10, we have Donnelly there as well. How old is he now? Is he 19, 18?
Divine, he was 15 when he scored against Marine in the FA Cup, wasn't he? He's got to be 20.
I'm not sure if there's a pathway for him. So again, loan him out, but maybe it's time to think about selling some of our the youngsters. Maybe he's one of the youngsters who's going to have to go to get some playing time. I just don't see him getting some playing time for us in the next couple of years.
James, your take on Alfie Divine?
Yeah, it's hard to say because it feels like he's been around for a little while.
Yeah.
And I think on the one hand, with certain players, like if you have big injury crises, like obviously last season, Bergvall, players like that came through. He obviously wasn't one of those people who was thought to be ready at that point. So you do kind of think, well, he needs perhaps a higher quality loan spell because he's been away on loan a few times. And I don't know how much that's helped his progression, even if there is a talented player in there. So it's one of those ones because you've got to get the right move for them with the right style of football, and it'd be the right challenge where they can actually learn sort of thing. So it's one of those tricky ones, really.
Yeah, he spent his time at West a little bit before they had half a season with Phillips at Portsmouth, was it, before they changed the manager? And then the manager didn't fancy him. And this is what I don't like about our loan system. But talking to Callum Stubbs, apparently they've changed a lot of things the way they loan players out. So as if you ain't going to play them, they're trying to incentivise clubs to play them so that if you play them, we'll pay their wages or do something like that. But if you don't play them, we're going to yank them back halfway into the contract, like in January, which would have been wise last year because of all the injuries we had, which you couldn't have believed would get so many injuries in one season. So, yeah. Lancashire, Eugene. I mean, in the under-21s, I watched all the under-21 games last year on Spurs playing that. I mean, before all these players got loaned out this season, the season before, isn't it? We loaned out about 8 of them. But he scored 23 goals and he had over 30 goals with a cup, and they won the league and they won the playoff cup as well. So, and now most of that team have been loaned out. He scored away at Galatasaray, didn't he? But then he got sent off, and I think he fell out of favour with Postecoglou then. What's your take on Lancashire, what you've seen of him? Got a goal?
Yeah, I still think he has potential. He just seems to have the knack for being in the right place at the right time. For me, he's on the borderline between staying in the squad and being loaned out. But I definitely think he has some potential. So, I mean, if he can go to a championship side, the playing time will do him some good. But unlike Devine, I do see potentially a pathway for him, especially if Richarlison goes this season or next season. I do think he can play for us in the future.
What's your take on him?
Well, presumably, that any of these guys who are starting, Frank probably presumes they're worth reviewing. So they obviously have some ability. They've obviously done well in training to get to that point, sort of thing. Scoring's great as well. Be good for confidence. I think you do really have to balance it because we're going to have a lot of games next season as well. We're going to want to be competitive in the cups. We're going to have at least like 8 Champions League games, hopefully more Champions League games. So it's going to just be a lot of football. So even if they're perhaps not necessarily ready to play a significant amount of games, they could, guys like Lancashire could still be very beneficial to have in the early rounds of the League Cup, the FA Cup, just so we can rotate. And also it's good to just have options because, if they have enough quality to, contribute, then there's no harm in having them there. I guess the bigger question is, well, do we think the squad's deep enough that we can actually afford to let these guys go out on loan this season? Or do we think actually they're going to get 10 games here probably this season, and that's probably more important to their development than going and playing 30, 40 games in League One, Championship sort of thing?
Yeah, with the youngsters, so Eugene, you'd want them to get game time. You don't want them just sitting on the bench. You want them to get games, and then perhaps mix that with a few under 21 games as well to keep them up to speed.
Yeah, I just think Frank specifically said he wants us to compete on multiple fronts, which I hope that's what we're going to do for once. And if that's the case, I'm not sure if we can afford to play the youngsters in those games. Especially right now, we do have somewhat of a deep squad since we can't sell anybody at this point. And a couple of players are still going to come in. So I'd rather them play consistently than get maybe 2, 3, 4 games. But that's just me.
I missed out Donnelly, James, right? Let's talk about Donnelly. And the reason with Donnelly and Devine is because we know that Madison's only just returned to full training in Kulu. They're going to miss a big chunk of pre-season. So someone's got to play in the number 10 unless you put Odebert there or Son there or anyone else you want to put there. So they should get more game time in these pre-seasons. And this is really the time to play them, isn't it? This is the less risk time. There's nothing at stake.
Yeah, I mean, they're friendlies. I mean, other than the Arsenal one, the North Singapore derby, there you go. They're pretty unimportant fixtures. They're for fitness and match readiness and adapting to new tactics. I saw, by the way, before the Reading game, we were practicing set pieces, which I didn't know that was allowed for a football team to do. But yeah, let them run around. And the thing is, as well, I think with young players, even if you want to be competitive on multiple fronts, you look at clubs like Liverpool who have players like Harvey Elliott come through. You look at even City with admittedly talents like Palmer and Foden. Young players. I mean, I think the trick is if you're going to do that, you don't put out 8 kids like Pochettino used to do in the League Cup and basically say, we don't care about this. And then Harry Kane had to come on anyway. You play 1 or 2 and you still keep a firm, spine of the team, because then it's much easier for a younger player who's less experienced to be able to fit in around that sort of structure. Yeah, I mean, Donnelly played. I mean, he played a lot of minutes last season for Leyton Orient. He played like 40 games, had decent goal return, got decent assist return. So, there's obviously talent there at that level. If he's quite at the level where he can be playing Premier League opposition, that's not my decision. That's Thomas Frank's. But, let's hope we see a bit more in pre-season and maybe he'll be near that level, or he'll be perhaps going on a slightly better loan next season.
Or then a decision can be made, like exactly.
Yeah.
Have you seen much of Donnelly, Eugene?
I have. Actually, I've been following him on and off. I really like him. Again, he's one of those players who just has it. He has something about him. I do think he's going to be good for us maybe in a year or so. Depending who we bring in, it might sense actually to keep him in the squad. If, as James said, we do give him minutes in cup games, I do think he can contribute. But again, if there's a chance to loan him out either to a bottom Prem team or a top championship team, it might make sense for him to develop. But unlike Divine, I do see Donnelly having a future with us.
Yeah, with the youngsters, and well, I'll talk about what I was going to say
I
later.
I also just realised that Donnelly has played for Northern Ireland a few times, like the men's team. I didn't realise he was playing for their men's team. There you go.
Yeah. Vuskovic, pronounced Vashkovic, right? So I'm sure we'll get it all right in the end. A lot of fans won't know, for those of you, 70 of you watching us now, which is brilliant, but we bought him as a 16-year-old from Hajduk Split, and we paid 12 million for him. And this was before we've had this inflationary process of young kids going for lots more money, because we only paid 2 or 3 million for Ashley Phillips, as an example, right? So he played for Hajduk Split. Everyone wanted him. We got him. Then we farmed him out to the Polish side. I forget the name of the Polish side. Again, he just slotted in seamlessly. He didn't need to settle. He was just a natural for him. And then after that, he finds himself at Westerlo with Alfie Divine. Has a good season there. Scored 6 or 7 goals for a centre-back. That's excellent, right? I mean, those of you who've seen him for the first time, I've watched him at Westerlo. I've tried to get as many highlights at him because I've really raved about him. But it was Reading, Eugene. So he's still got to show he can do it in the Premier League, but he does look like he's the real deal to me anyway.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was wondering in those leagues whether he was successful just given his size, that he's bigger than everybody else. I just wanted to see his technical ability. And I mean, he does look good. Some people say maybe we can use him long-term as a 6. I think he might be too big, and I don't know if he has the pace to play a 6, but he definitely has good technical ability. He's big. We already saw he's good in the air. So I'm definitely excited for him. Again, the question is, do we keep him? Does he have a place in the squad? I say I would keep him over Dragoshin. If it'd be up to me, I'd sell Dragoshin because I just don't think he's good enough, and I would keep Vuskovic on the team. However, if we don't sell anybody, if Romero stays, we don't bring anybody in, maybe again it makes sense to give Vuskovic one more loan in England.
Yeah, James, a good goal with his weak foot. He's right-footed. He scored with his left.
He seems to score a lot, which is interesting. I've
and
also
from
seen
outside the box, and from outside the box, if you watch videos of him.
He's also really quick. Like, for a guy his size, he is really fast. Scary. I mean, he's already represented Croatia in like an actual game. I mean, admittedly, they were 5-1 up. Yeah, admittedly, they were 5-1 up, but like it was a qualifying game for the World Cup. So, important. And I think if you do look at our centre backs, obviously you have Romero. How long Romero stays, who knows, right? Van der Ven and then Danzo, I'd say, are our 3 very high quality centre backs. You've then got Dragusin, who I'm not fully convinced by in a lot of the time. He looks a little bit. He almost looks like a centre back from 10, 15 years ago. I think he's a bit too slow on the ball. He's not comfortable with the ball at his feet. I do wonder how much Frank will play a back 3. Because if we are going to be playing a back 3, at least semi-often, you kind of do need 5 centre-backs. You can't really have just like 4. Whereas if you play back 4, you need that sort of extra 1 or 2 man. And also, Van der Ven can play as a left-back if needed. Maybe Vuskovic could even play as a full-back. I mean, again, he's only, 18. So, he might end up moving into a
still growing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't know. Maybe, Gareth Bale was a left back until he was like 23 before he became a winger. Some players change where they go. But if he's getting a preseason look in, that at least means that there's talent there. Otherwise, we'd have just shipped him off somewhere. I mean, Daniel Levy, a man perhaps known for his frugality, spent a large sum of money on someone who was still doing their GCSEs, basically. Kind of tells you how highly rated he is by a lot of scouts. And even if he's not potentially ready yet, he's probably ready for a sort of, loan in the second division in England, which I think is very beneficial for centre-backs and midfielders to toughen them up a little bit. Maybe he's even ready now. We didn't think if Bergwall was going to be ready, and he was. So who knows?
Not bad, Eugene. Was it a goal, an assist, and a clearance in 9 minutes? I mean, he's took his chance. It's down to see what we get out of him now. On your suggestion of the number 6, I'd thought about that, but I thought about that before we even got VDV and that Romero could play that role. I could see him first if you're going to do that. If we were playing a back 5, which James has alluded to, and you've got a progressive centre half as one of the 3, like if you had Romero, VDV, and him. But if he was the one playing as the 6 or going forward, I think Romero might get jealous because he likes to do that, right? So what's your take on that?
I mean, I always thought a Romero would be better as a 6 anyways, right? The question is, well, first the question is if Romero has a future in this club, and if he doesn't, who cares, right? Also, it'd be interesting to see if Frank does in fact play a back 3, just given the tools available to him. The more options, the better. The more flexibility he has, the better. Right now, Vuskovic is still so raw. It's still tough to say exactly what his ceiling is and where his best position is. And again, as a 6, I haven't seen a lot of 6s who are as big as him. What is he, like 6'5", 6'6"? He might be quick for center back, but as a 6, I'm not sure if he has that recovery pace. But maybe he does. So again, it's going to be interesting to see.
All the rumoured reports, or he has actually stated it himself, that he thinks he could do with being a bit quicker, and the others are commenting that he's a bit slow. He reads the game so well, though. I mean, what I've seen of him, John Terry wasn't fast, was he? No. I mean, if you can read the game, Michael Dawson wasn't that fast.
Yeah, but I don't know if they could have been as 6s, especially now, right? For center back, he's definitely quick enough. Again, I don't think he is fast enough to play in Ange's system. For Frank, he's definitely quick and fast enough. But as a 6, it's a different, it's a different animal. He needs
a specialist position anyway.
Yeah.
Also, I think when you sorry,
go ahead, James.
We do have quite a few obviously fast players. I mean, Van der Ven is rapid. Danzo's fairly quick. Romero's not slow. So I think again, we sort of have players of a wide array of abilities, and I do think Frank's a manager who will utilize the fact that Van der Ven is fast, and that can potentially cover up if he's a little bit slow or not the best at a certain aspect of defending, but otherwise a strong player. Which is why I almost sometimes do think with Frank, Dragusin might have a bit of a chance in a back 3, just solely because I think if you have 2 other players who can compensate for his weaknesses, he'll play a lot better. I think playing as a centre back under Ange in the Premier League is be world class, or you're going to look like you should be in non-league. I think it's a very unfortunate job a lot of the time because you have to play a very high line, very good on the ball, and you don't really have any help. So I think even our centre backs will look just better under Frank because I think they'll be a bit more protected and they won't be asked to do quite so much.
Yeah. Okay, I was just trying to see where Colin was. In case he messaged me, it's all right, one of the guests, it's all right. Doesn't matter, we've got enough to go with. On that Frank issue, and alluding to the fact that he plays a back 5 or may want to play a back 5, is this going to determine how he shapes the squad with players then? Either of you?
Yeah.
To some extent, maybe. Sorry, you can go ahead.
No, go for it.
I think Frank is quite pragmatic, and I don't think it's that he plays a back 5 because he just likes a back 5. I think he plays it more so when he does play it because he thinks that's tactically the best option. So I think more than anything, he'll want to have players, a complete squad. But I think it's more about just, having the best players possible to have in a team. And then you're tactically flexible based on who you're playing. That's what Frank does. It's a complete different philosophy to Ange, which is we're going to play one way and we're not going to change it even if we're 5-0 down. It's a different sort of management, but I'm sure he'll probably want to have the option of playing a back five, back three, because certainly in games that's going to be tactically advantageous. And if we're playing certain teams who are perhaps on paper better than us, playing a back three gives you a lot more options. You can pack the box, you can beat them aerially. So he'll want probably 5 centre backs minimum, whereas perhaps you don't need 5 centre backs if you're only going to play back 4. But that's more about having the tactical flexibility, less than saying we don't need any wingers, sort of thing. So yeah, I think it'll be pragmatistic more than anything.
I mean, what was your take on Frank's management during the game, Eugene? I mean, at half time, he kept the players on the pitch, didn't he? Had the old clipboard out and
Yeah, it was, some people say he just did it for the fans, just, anti-Ange, who didn't really do any coaching on the pitch. I mean, it's always good to see, especially in the very beginning with so many players out there, 2 different squads played, in every half. So it's good to see. It's all about his coaching team. So it's good. I'm happy that we finally, again, I really liked Ange, but I'm happy given the number of youngsters on our team, somebody who's really going to get into the coaching fundamentals. And it seems like Frank really loves to coach, which is good to see.
yeah, I mean, like 2 separate teams played the game, James, and yet there was no Tell, no Odegaard, no Gray, because they'd been given extended leave and probably at the training ground doing live training because they were away with their countries. And Gray picked up another winners' medal with the England under-21s and Euros. He won that. And of course, we had this that the Guardian have explained that Frank and his coaching staff decided Richarlison should stay back at Oxford Way to train alongside the likes of those 3 and Archie Gray. They want to make sure he's properly fit after all his injury woes. Does that sound to you like if they're putting all that effort in behind Richarlison that he's staying and not going? There's a lot of fans and me, I'd like to see him go, but
I suppose as a manager, you probably want to be fair and give everyone a look in, right? And it's not like Richarlison has a bad attitude as a player, I don't think. I think he has a very good attitude, probably. The issue is he has legs made of glass and paper mache torso. So there's all these injuries. I think to some extent it's good to keep him around the squad so he doesn't get isolated from the team, especially with a new manager coming in, just for his own psychological well-being. I think that's positive. But ultimately, I imagine Frank wants to have a bit of a look at him because if he can stay fit, okay, he doesn't have a first touch and he's not the greatest finisher in the world. But when he gets on a bit of good form, I remember in, was it Andrew's first season? He had that run of 11, 12 games where he scored basically every game for a period. He can contribute, and especially if you want to play 2 up top, he's good in the air. So he has his little niche, which he could fill, especially if no one really wants to spend what, we reasonably demand for him due to his injury issues. Then, I don't really see him staying another year as an issue, as long as he is okay with the fact that he's probably going to have a, diminished role. But I think he's one of those people who's more about the team than himself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm not big in him. Go on, Eugene.
Richarlison, that's my it's a sore subject. I know Yves Blaine is in the comments, but we keep arguing about him. Richarlison, I cannot wait until he leaves. I rate his personality. He's a good guy. But man, for the amount of money that we paid for him, he just doesn't do it for me. He did show something as a winger. His work rate is definitely there, but he cannot pass the ball well. He doesn't have a first touch. He doesn't do it for me. as a striker, he needs to score.
Mm,
And
yeah.
given that Solanke is struggling, we need another 9 who is clinical and who can score. When I was watching him live last season against Forest, I think he had like 10 headers, like easy headers, and he scored once. He's wasteful. Like, how many times did he have, an easy header last minute in games for us, and he missed him? I just don't rate him at all. So honestly, if we can sell him, I would take 10 million for him. If you can sell him and bring somebody in, a 9 who can actually score, it's going to do us a lot of good. Because even on the wing, we have so many wing options at this point. I just don't see him getting a lot of time on the wing. So again, I rate him as a person. I love his passion. I love the shithousery. I love everything that he does other than the actual football. He just doesn't have enough for me to justify a position in the squad. So if we can sell him, I'd be more than happy to let him go.
James, I've banged on about the fact having a front three. I've said it about wingers. I don't care how tricky you are, how flashy you are. We've gone past the days of Ginola and Waddle and all that, although Waddle contributed more in the game than Ginola did, in my opinion. That your front three have to score goals. There have to be an end product. And Richarlison's, he lacks that end product. Now, I'm not saying if he stays, he might have his best season ever. What's the most he got ever? 13.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd want that minimum. He's a number 9. I mean, like, I think Frank likes him. I think he's going to keep him.
I think he appreciates his attitude. I think with Richarlison, there's a few things. On the one hand, I don't think you can blame a player for the fee paid for them. I mean, they didn't decide that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know it's hard because you want signings to be value, right? But not my money. So, if Daniel Levy wants to waste it, that's like not really my concern. Even if we criticise it, I think also he's had a lot of injuries since he's been at Spurs. He is very glass, and he's obviously had mental health problems connected to those injuries. I think a large part of why his performance has gotten worse, to some extent, I think, is the psychological aspect. I think, he spoke about, he had struggles with mental health. The injuries, I think those have compounded to negatively affect his confidence. And I think that's possibly a really big part of it. Now, I'm not saying that if he starts feeling better and more confident, he's suddenly going to have a good touch, because he won't have a good touch. But I do definitely think with certain things like finishing, confidence is a very large aspect to it for a striker. And I think perhaps part of his diminished performance is due to those psychological things and the physical injuries possibly affecting him a little bit. So, look, he has underperformed significantly for the player he should be. The guy started for Brazil up front. He should be a much better player than he actually is. But if he can be a positive influence and chip in some goals as an option, I think he's good enough to start against Tamworth. Right. So I don't know. I mean, if we could get 35 million for him, I'd say yes, sell. There's probably someone better out there. But equally, there aren't that many strikers at the moment. I mean, Arsenal are paying over the stupid money for a guy who's only ever played in Portugal. So, Oh, and Coventry, yeah.
So, Eugene, let's talk about Frank now. He started. I think we've all put Ange in the background now. We've all moved on. What's your take of Frank at his press conferences and so far? I mean, it's early, but what's your take on him? Do you like him?
I do. My hesitation initially with Frank, and I got into a few debates with some folks about him, was what that hiring signaled to the fans, meaning that we're looking for a coach, again, a coach youth versus actually challenging and buying top players. There is no debate that Frank is a good coach. He's a really good coach. But we haven't seen him win anything yet. We haven't seen him compete on multiple fronts. So that was my issue. Then when the window has started and we got Kudus and Gibbs White right away, I'm like, oh, whoa, things are changing. So maybe I shouldn't be as worried as I was about what his hiring means. Obviously, now things are slowing down. But based on based on his press conferences, based on the way he carries himself, I definitely like him. But I liked Ange as well. When Ange came in, he also had really good press conferences. He was likable. Everything was great until we started losing games. So with Frank, it's still too early to see. But again, based on what I'm seeing right now, I do like him. I like the thing that stands out to me the most is the coaching team that he was allowed to bring with him. This is something different from what Ange did, and I think other managers as well. At least that shows me that he's allowed to kind of he's in charge from that perspective. So that's a positive for me. So if we bring in a couple of top players in addition to Kudus, I do feel like we're gonna have a good season.
Thing on that. I'm sorry.
Go on, no, Karen.
There was I can't remember if it was the most recent Euros or the Euros before, but Frank was one of the pundits, as was Ange, which was quite funny. Those were quite entertaining punditry. But I can't remember, was it like Romania or something? Can't remember the game, but I remember one of the defenders had played a really terrible back pass to his goalkeeper, and basically it resulted in a goal. And they were talking about it, and Frank just said, "Well, look, you know what? You don't need to jump on a player for things like that. My first thing would be to make sure they're okay and they're still feeling confident, because they're angry at themselves. And if it's a thing that happens all the time, then okay, we change the tactic or something. But if it happens once, then it doesn't matter. We move on from that, and you just make sure the player's okay and no one's jumping on his back." And I thought, I really like that. That's, I think, very good style of leadership. And ever since I saw that, I thought, I reckon he's probably quite a good guy and a good manager, because I think that's exactly how leadership should be. And ultimately, ever since then, I've had a very positive outlook on him. I think at times it can be a little, what's the right word? Disappointing isn't the right word, but you don't get excited by, I wouldn't say I got excited by his appointment in the same way I would get excited by certain other names. But if you look at recent history, bar Ange, Ange didn't come from a big, huge club. I mean, obviously Celtic are a big club, but in terms of where they are ability-wise, Pochettino, he didn't come from a particular. He came from Southampton. Our most recent managers have been successful. Even Harry Redknapp came from Portsmouth. Our most recent managers who have been successful have come from sort of like smaller, mid-table Premier League sides, or teams not even in the Premier League. So the big names have failed more often than not. So I do think, to an extent, there does seem to be something in that overperforming of a smaller team to a bigger team that works for us as a club. But yeah, I think he's going to be a good manager, and I think will be competitive. The only thing, obviously, is, I don't think he's won anything in his career. So obviously, he's now going to have the expectation of, trying to win things, which is going to be different for him. And with a team that is in a bit of a weird state, a lot of young players coming through, perhaps not enough experience. And we just came off a horrible Premier League campaign where we were dreadful pretty much the whole season, but won a trophy. So I think the club's in a weird position, and that's going to be really difficult for him to manage. But I feel like he's one of the few people who can deal with that, because the atmosphere is a bit weird at the moment, I have to say, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, David brings up a good friend of the show, David Clark in Leicester. They're Spurs fans, surrounded by a Leicester City supporting family. Look, Frank, an assistant coach, has actually got involved in tactics. It's really not like Ange's assistant coach who's sitting on their hands on the bench. He can be a bit dismissive, David, at times. Just on his coaches, I've got two banners on. I don't know if you guys know them. We'll go through the first banner first, because this is, so as you fans out there, the 90 of you viewing us now on all platforms, which is fantastic on a Tuesday evening. I mean, we've got Andres Jolson, who's the set-piece coach, Fabianotti, the goalkeeping coach, Justin Cochrane, attack coach, Chris Haslam, head of performance and assistant coach, Matt Wells, defence coach, Joe Newton, first team coach. Do you know anything about any of these, Eugene? I know a little bit about a couple of them.
Not really. I just know a bit about Cochrane, just based from what others said. Heard good things about the set piece coach as well. But I haven't met Wells also, but I haven't seen them in action. So again, I just know what I've heard from others. But everything that everybody's saying is positive. And again, I'm just glad that for once, Levy or the board is allowing the manager to bring in his coaching staff. So it's good to see.
Yeah.
James,
I know the fitness coach he brought in because I researched it last time I was on the show or the time before, can't remember. And I remember reading on like the Brentford like staff page about him that he can deadlift like a crazy amount, like over 200 kilograms or something stupid. So he must be like Mr. Muscle. So we've got a deadlift demon in. So, I mean, if you can do that, then he's probably quite good at fitness. I mean, we might have the entire team just like looking like bodybuilders in a few months' time, which would be quite amusing.
What about Fabianotti?
He's the guy who was at Leipzig,
And Liverpool.
And Liverpool. Yeah, Liverpool. One of them was at Leipzig. One of them was Scottish and at Leipzig. I can't remember. I looked this up a few weeks ago, and I was
he is extremely highly rated, and obviously, like Rob Birch has gone from Spurs, so and Fabianotti is highly rated. I've researched him a little bit, and yeah, I think he's going to get a better tune out of Kinski and Vicario, and even Austin, So Joe Newton looks like he's going to be the guy sitting with a laptop up with the press guys doing a first team analysis. We'll move on to the second one because I know a couple of these. Right, the other people we've brought in, which should be pleasing to all fans, Spurs fans, because we've really had a clear out. Right. Yeah, Cameron Campbell, individual player development. So no doubt, if they do evaluation sheets after games with stats and all that, it will sit down with players and say, look, this is what you did ever so well, but, you need to improve in these areas. And Stuart Lewis, well, he was in charge of the under-18s because I watched a lot of the youngsters' games. And now he's been promoted to first-team academy transition coach. So he'll be responsible for pathways, basically, from the academy to the first team. Dean Brills was with the youngsters as well. He's now assistant goalkeeping coach. So we have two. Nick Stubbins is the one from Brentford, the physio, and Tom Perriman, strength and conditioning. I don't know with that name. And Stevie played 853 games for us or something like that. Captain Steve. I don't know if he's in a relation. If anybody knows, let us know in the chat. Just out of curiosity, nothing else. So. Any of you guys know any of these? No?
I know. I did look at Tom Perryman's Wikipedia page because it usually tells you if they're like have famous relations. It doesn't say that he isn't related to him, but it doesn't say that he is. So So who knows, right? It hasn't been explicitly stated either way. I'm not too knowledgeable about too many of them, but I mean, these coaches do have a much more significant impact than we perhaps think because they're goalkeeping coaches are working with the goalkeepers a lot, as are typically the third, fourth choice goalkeepers are working with them. So and making sure those guys are the best is very, very important.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if they found the physio on LinkedIn or given the ads that the club had to post. So I'm just hoping that for once our medical team is going to do a decent job because for years and years our medical team has been shambles. So I'm really hoping this is the time when they know what they're doing.
I do wonder at times if Levy's just gone and found people like disgraced former doctors and hired them for our medical team, like people who were done because of malpractice, and he said he'll do a job for cheap, mate. Yeah. He lost his license because of malpractice, but not many of the patients died. I mean, he's not doing surgery here; he'll be fine.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Like you even see Sessegnon, like no injuries since he left us. I think it's comical. to say the least. So let's see.
Yeah. Let's move on to the thing that has the life force draining out of all of us. News, views, transfer rumours. Because we know how patient our fan base is, but I don't think they're any less patient than the other fan base. Right, Morgan Gibbs-White, transfer saga. Just some stats on him. 34 appearances, 7 goals, 8 assists. So, guys, no news is good news or no news is panic stations? Anyone?
Well, my understanding is this is going to court, right? Presumably, that Nottingham Forest are trying to take us to court to get more money out of us. That is sort of how I understand it. That would seem to make sense. I don't quite know if Nottingham Forest know that our chairman is Daniel Levy. A man once quoted, Alex Ferguson once said, the most painful experience of my life was negotiating with Daniel Levy. Kidney stones are apparently the second most painful experience. Yeah, I mean, it's a complete farce. You know, we put in a release clause and the team paid it. Oh, it's a secret release clause. Why do you have a secret release clause? Like, it's a nonsensical, stupid argument. But obviously, they're trying to drag it out. So we just go, it's cheaper to pay an extra 10, 15 million. And it's, you know, it saves a lot of time. I'm guessing that's what they're hoping for. I think to some extent, you know, they won't be news for a short period because we'll be asking the lawyers, okay, you know, how do we fight this? What do we do? They'll be doing that as well. And it's going to just be a whole kerfuffle, really. Because this is like a really technical piece of like contract law that they're trying to argue and will be trying to argue. And that needs to be settled, or they need to drop the claim before the transfer can go through. And I don't know what court or where this will happen, or, you know, how it's going to happen. I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell with things like this, it typically takes ages and it's a massive hassle for everybody involved.
So, do you like the player anyway?
Yeah, I think he's a good player. Not sure if I like him to the tune of like 70 million or so, if we have to pay that. But, you know, transfers are incredibly inflated these days. Yeah, I think he's a good player. And, you know, he's mates with Brennan Johnson, so that's always nice. I think he's the kind of player we need another of, because if you think about it, we only really have Maddison in that role who is suited to that role. So it's always good to have competition and cover. And I think he's a relatively consistent player. The only thing I will say is he's been playing in a very counter-attacking system over the past year at least. So, you know, he probably won't be quite so counter-attacky. So obviously there's going to be that transition, but players typically handle these sorts of transitions pretty well. So, yeah, I think he's a good player. I mean, I'd wish Forest would just, like, accept the millions of pounds and move on. But
what's your take on the Gibbs-White situation, Eugene?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting really tired of the saga. I mean, 60 million is a lot of money. I think there are a lot of good midfielders out there that would improve us. And on the other hand, I'm also concerned. I feel like if we knew that we did nothing wrong, we would not be offering more money. We just take him to court and that's it. I feel like if we are offering them more money, we know that something is off. And given that we haven't taken him to court just yet, I think it's not as simple as we want to make it out to be, unfortunately. So this can be dragging on for a while. But what I'm seeing, what concerns me is that for some reason we can't do any more business until this is resolved, which I'm not sure why that's the case. So if this is going to stop us from doing any other business, I just want us to be done with it and move on to other targets. I like him as a player a lot. He'll definitely is going to improve us. He'll give Frank flexibility, given that he can be an 8 or a 10. I like him as a player. He's homegrown. He's a leader that we need on the pitch for a team that's been lacking leaders for a long time. But again, if this is going to drag on until end of the window, I say we just move on and bring somebody else in.
Yeah,
but hopefully
I
it's going to get resolved within a week or so. Because if it gets past that, it's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I think the issue is in legal disputes like this, it's incredibly technical and he said, she said. So I don't know how long it would take for that to be settled in a court. It could take 6, 7, 8 weeks, and by then the window's over, right?
Yeah.
And then what, we don't get a player in that position. So I think on the one hand, we're sat here thinking, okay, could this be settled in a court quickly? or do we just, what do Forest want, right? How much more do they want? If it's 10 million, then whatever, play 10 million. But if they're saying, no, we want like 120 million, then I think, then it's a case of, well, do we go to court and maybe get him, maybe not get him? Do we move on? I don't quite know why we can't go to court, try and deal with it and say, look, as redundancy, let's look at other players. And if we get him, he's a nice bonus. But I get it's difficult.
As the MF has said, their chairman is a council, right, QC, right? And so he will know the rights and wrongs if anything's wrong. To me, we're getting this player, we're signing him, and I don't think it's stopping us from looking at other people or working in the background to get other people in. And I'll give you my take on it, because you've got to look at it from Spurs' point of view. To actually find out what's in someone's contract without being told is impossible unless you break into someone's office and pull a contract out of a safe and go through it. So they have to be told. We know that Gibbs White was down to the last 2 years of his contract. We now know that Marinakis was hoping, because he wouldn't sign before the agents probably come to Spurs after this, actually. So Marinakis wanted to palm him off to Man City and get James McAtee in exchange. He's still after him, or Jacob Ramsey, which would be suitable replacements, right? So he's now, for Spurs to be in the wrong, why did Marinakis then throw his toys out the pram? If he's in the right, he's got no reason to get upset or anything. Just stay calm and cool. But he threw his toys out the pram. And it's the 60 million release clause. And let's be clear about this. I did a little bit of law years ago, right? I'm no expert, but this is my way I see it. Right? That's a 60 million release clause. That is legally binding. Right? They can't raise the price. It stays at 60 mil. If Spurs have activated it and Marinakis has thrown a strop, tough. You're losing. And for Spurs to tap the player up, look, the people that would know about this release clause are the player, his family, his agent, maybe associates, and maybe the odd third party, right? They would know about this, right? But it's obvious that if he's got down to 2 years and he showed no intention of signing a new contract, and his chairman wanted to get rid of him, that he wants to leave, probably didn't fancy Man City not going to get to game time, right? So he wants to leave. And so now the agent, it's the agent who's done it. The agent, who gains out of this? The agent and the player. The player gets bigger wage when he moves, and the agent gets a cut, right? So the agent gains out of it. So my money would be on the agent. Spurs have been interesting for more than one season. So now he's down to 2. I think the agent's been telling everyone about this, to be honestly. And I think he's told Spurs, and Spurs have acted on it. They've done nothing wrong.
So it doesn't count as tapping up if you're discussing with the agent. No. It's only the player directly.
Well, no, and a lot of clubs now, they don't do that. A third party will approach an agent of a player even. It doesn't even have to be an agent working for you. Third parties are involved all the time. They're even involved in transfers. Apart from having 2 agents and 2 clubs dealing, you can have third parties in between. We sent a different team to try and negotiate for we was doing a couple of deals at a time. Was it Porro or someone else? I forget anyway. But we had a different team going out trying to negotiate the deal. Oh, yeah, and then Levy then flew out and signed it off, didn't he, for Porro at the time, and Conte was here, right? So it works differently. So it's not, I don't see it. Ian, our other admin, co-owner of the show, I mean, like he's like, his career has all been employment law, but even he's not, 100% decided on this. I think the player comes to us, and like you alluded to, if not, Levy will sue. Now, obviously, the sensible solution is you don't go down that road. You don't drag it out. I think Forest are waiting for a replacement. The cynic in me tells me now that this, I mean, you don't want to come across as callous, but being cynic as well, the fact that Morgan Gibbs-White wanted the solution sorted by Monday when his team flew out for warm weather training, right? They've flown out for that. And that he has now stayed behind because there's complications with his girlfriend who's in a London hospital. She's pregnant, right? complications. You could say, well, is he using this as a lever or not? Against Forest. So, and even if he went out on the training, right? Even if he goes and joins Forest end of this week, for example, right, and the deal's not done, right? We're still getting this player. If you remember, Harry Kane went out on pre-season before Bayern Munich got him. It didn't stop them signing him. And to me, I don't think looking at it, I don't think Marinakis has got a leg to stand on. If his chairman, who's a QC, knows this, he's going to say this. He's stalling now, needs to get a player in. I think there's too much damage done for the player to go back and play for Forest now anyway. I mean, there have been cases when this has been patched up with players, but it takes time with the fan base. Because half of them will never trust you again. So to me, I don't think Marinakis throwing his toys out the pram. I mean, he's got a history of this, hasn't he? Banned Phil Neville from the ground, and he went down to rant at his manager during a game. I mean, the guy, he's a bit of a hot-tempered Greek, So
it's not good PR, is it, for the club? It makes you look immature, and it also just makes you look in the wrong. Yeah. I mean, I know Palace fans are already quite annoyed at Forest. I mean, if you want to add Spurs fans to that, then by the end of the window, they'll have pissed off everybody in the country. But
and the media, and especially low-tier media, even some of the better tier media, they're just like, yes, he's coming, no, he's not. Yes, he's coming, no, he's not. Which happens with every player transfer deals to wind up fan bases. And they've chewed this story till it's like a worn-out piece of chewing gum, basically. And they don't know. They are not in the know. They don't know. So they're speculating and guessing like they always do. And they haven't even zeroed in on the facts. And I think a lot of the times they don't do that because they don't want to kill the story when it comes out and just kill it straight dead. I can kill it. He's going to be a Spurs player. And I'll take all the pelters if he isn't. He will be a Spurs player, in my opinion, right? On what I know, because I just think the law's on Levy's side. We've done nothing wrong. We've activated the clause. They might refuse to talk to us. What they can't do, they can't withhold the player's registration. If Spurs activate the clause, sooner or later they have got to talk to us, because then Levy can act and say, look, we've acted a legally binding clause. You might not like it. There might have been a non-disclosure agreement in it. It's nothing to do with us. That is a totally separate issue. And the rumour was, or you've heard, that the people that constructed this deal, that Marinakis won't know what's in every Forest contract. I bet he's learning about them now. but having caught a cold with this one, rumour was he sacked all the people that did this. But they give him the 60 mil release clause when they got him for Wolves for what, 42 million or something? So at the time, that was probably a good contract to do, but for them. Release clause and all that. And as you alluded to, I mean, a non-disclosure release clause. I mean, Eugene, what's all that about?
Yeah, I mean, that's very strange. But again, right, if it was that simple, I don't see why wouldn't we take them to court last week, right? If it's that simple. So something tells me that something else is going on. I just don't see why we wouldn't take him to court, or vice versa. So what I see happening, or my concern, is that they're waiting for another team to come in. If City comes in and offers them more money, or a player swap, or Chelsea or whoever else, they might be waiting for that. But again, if it's that cut and dry, why doesn't Levy take him to court right now and not wait?
This is why I think things are going on behind the scenes. I think Marinakis will have cooled down by now. I mean, David Clark's right. He hasn't got a leg to stand on all we've heard is Premier League have not received no letter. They've shown intentions. They've issued threats. If you had something concrete after a week, you would have gone for it. If Marinakis thought he could get more money, and when they say another team can come in, but they know what the release clause is. They don't have to pay any more, and they won't. I mean,
but Adrian, why isn't there a letter from us to the league? Right, that's the question. If it's so simple, why doesn't Levy write a letter
Well,
to the
we
league.
don't know if one's waiting to be posted or what, do we? We don't know. I mean, Levy's no mug. I mean, he's not winning this battle against Levy, right? We're not walking away from this deal. I just don't see it happening. Let's have a look at this next. It's a good
We'll
point,
see.
David makes there. I mean, yeah, we know about them. I see
Yeah.
this. Go on.
I just googled Marinakis out of interest. There is an entire 6 pages on his Wikipedia page dedicated to just his controversy, including alleged drug trafficking, corruption, and him threatening referees and getting arrested. Yeah, okay. Doesn't seem like a calm, well thought out kind of man. Seems like I'm angry. I feel like I should do something kind of individual. Yeah,
this is the thing. It's not going to get dragged out. He can't withhold. I mean, Gibbs White could go on strike, but he's kept it clean at the moment. He could play on the girlfriend thing a while. I mean, I hope she is well. I hope he hasn't got nothing serious with her, obviously. But he could play on that. No, compassionately not coming. I'm not playing. And then I think Forrest are waiting to sign someone. Then he comes. And Levy's the only way Levy will play more money if it's true that there's the release causes 230 mil payments. The only way Levy's playing more money is if it's done over 4 payments or over a 5-year contract. Then he might sweeten the pot because you've done that before, rather than have to part with a lot of your transfer money in one hit. I can see that then, but other than that, there's no reason. You've had the media have alluded to, they'll pay extra money. Really? Why? Why should you anyway? You're in the right. You shouldn't have to. What, to stop him delaying it? Well, I would delay it. And also Levy will probably be smiling because if this ran on for a month, he's going to save $1 million in wages to Morgan Gibbs White, isn't he? So it will save money the longer it drags out.
Daniel Levy masterclass right there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I get the fans' frustration and impatience. I get it with all deals. And just on that, I mean, people say, bang, why aren't we doing bang? I'll give you a couple of examples why. It'll happen on someone like Danso who wants to come. There's no other club in for him. He knows it's a step up for him in his career, and bang, he comes, right? And he's been a good signing. If you take Kuna and Man United, right? They activated his release calls on the 1st of July or June. 1st of June, maybe. Then he didn't sign until the 12th. So that's 12 days. Right now, before the 1st of June, they had to have conversations, and we don't know how many days that took. And you look at Abuemo today; he signs today. It's cost him 70 odd million with the add-ons. That's dragged out for a few weeks, isn't it? So it's not always a straight case with signings that bang. I mean, we'd all like them to be done like that, like the Danso one. But it depends on the selling club's attitude.
Yeah, and the player, you've got to negotiate with the player. That can take a few days. Plus, I don't know if he has a house in London or something, but he'll have to acquire somewhere to live, presumably with his child and wife, girlfriend. So, yeah, I saw that and found that quite funny.
I mean, but also, Adrian, in the past, I heard examples of, with Chelsea and Olise and Van Dijk and Liverpool. Again, it might not be exactly the same situation, but clubs did walk away from potential transfers given complications. So I just want us to make a decision, right? Either we stick it out or we walk away. But it just looks like that this issue is blocking all our other business, which is what my concern is.
That's the worst that happened to Spine. And Spurs haven't done no wrongdoing here. They've been given the information. We've looked at the player and we've gone and activated the release clause. And, Marinakis has had a nervo, right? So, big up, Callum. Right, another quiet day. Yeah, well, it is pretty quiet, actually. And I think that's a good thing. But for impatient fans, it's not. Yeah, obviously. Nothing to report, Adrian. Yeah. Oh, only that, I think, we signed a youngster from Leeds. Another one. We're nicking all their young players. We took Max McFadden. Now we're taking Oliver Boast, and we'll probably go back to Harry Gray eventually. Gray's brother. Right. I think I've caught up with the chat. Let me just have a look at the banners here. Right, other options. Either of you, do you like this guy? Xavi Simons?
Yeah.
25 appearances last season. Goals 10, assists 7. He's 23, Dutch.
He's a good player, but it sounds like he's going to end up at Chelsea. I think they're going for him. So, so again, as I just mentioned, right, part of my frustration is if Gibbs White is stalling, Simons is a kind of player that we should go for because he can play an 8. I think he can play as a 10 as well.
Yeah.
He might not be as sure, as much as of a sure thing as Gibbs White since he has no experience in the Prem, but he's definitely a big talent.
Yeah.
And he's going to end up at Chelsea, unfortunately. But I do like him.
Yeah, I think good player, but I don't know. We'll see where we go. We'll see what happens. Again, I believe it when I see them in a Spurs shirt. Basically, I think he's a decent player.
I'd love him. I really would love to have him, but I mean,
do Chelsea need more players?
Yeah,
don't they have like 80 of them?
Yeah, they need another 100 players, don't they? So, no, I think these links coming up now are because like the press, the media want to like put in place other options for Spurs if we don't get. But he's not Gibbs White. I mean, Gibbs White will give this team a lot of energy. He is box to box, like so. Yeah, Simons is more. I was thinking either Simons or Eze. That's what I was thinking. So that's my sort of comparison. Not to compare him with Gibbs White. Yeah, I mean, what about this guy's? I don't get all the fuss on him actually. Jacob Ramsey at Villa. I mean, Forest are in for him and McAtee as well because Gibbs White is going apparently. 29, 1 goal, 3 assists. I think Bergval's a better version of Jacob Ramsey, a lot better.
For sure. Yeah, he's not a winger. I mean, he's an 8 as well, and he'll be a decent squad option, but we don't need squad options, especially in the midfield at this point. Hopefully, Bissouma can go. We need a surefire starter at the 8, and Ramsey's just not it. He's average.
I think he's a Johan Langer link, isn't he? Because he was there at Villa with him, James.
Yeah, I've never been particularly impressed by him. I think I can remember watching him properly in about 2 or 3 games, one of which I was in the pub, and I didn't go, wow, what a player. So yeah, I have no. I don't know. I think he's one of those players who's very much. I want to say looks good because of the system he's in, more than him actually being a really good player. I think, I don't know. I mean, Brendan Johnson, levels clear better than him. And even if he is an 8, I think, if we're looking at guys like Gibbs White, we have Madison, Kulu can play as an 8, we have Bergval. I don't think it's a position we really need. I think we need a 6. Definitely, and there are other areas where we need to strengthen. I think we need like another out-and-out winger, but I don't see the need for Jacob Ramsey personally. On
the winger, then, I think this link is because he's worked with Justin Cochrane. Garnacho's all in the papers now. I'm not. He's end product. Where is it? At appearances 36, 6 goals. That's 1 in 6. Not enough for. I mean, like you need a 1 in 4 ratio. I mean, if you're a real good winger, it's 1 in 3, like Sonny's done, or 1 in 3.5, or whatever it is. I know he looked frightening when he came on in the final against us, but I just think he flatters to deceive. What do you think, Eugene?
I'm not gonna lie. If we sign Garnacho, I might have to take a break from Spurs football for a while. I have an irrational dislike for him. I just don't like the players whose egos are way larger than what they've shown on the pitch. And that's kind of why I'm not a huge fan of Madison, but I digress. Just Garnacho, he might be talented, but he hasn't shown me anything that I would say, yep, I want him. Plus his attitude, and also just given the options that we have a lot of young wingers already in the squad. We need a top experienced winger, someone like Kudus. If Sonny leaves, especially, we need somebody experienced on that left-hand side. We don't need any more kids in the midfield or in the wings. And Garnacho, his lack of, I don't rate him at all. His attitude, his skill set, I want nothing to do with him.
What's your take on Garnacho? What you know?
Well,
John?
I was just thinking what we really need is a winger with no end product, a terrible haircut, and who's a massive prima donna. I thought that's what the squad really needed to galvanise. And, for those reasons, perfect signing, mate. Also,
and with a bad attitude.
Yeah, a prima donna with a bad attitude, who thinks he's Ronaldo, but has about the same level of footballing ability as,
I mean, he may kick on and be a world beater, world class. But as Eugene said, we've got enough players developing. We're like a training scheme at the club, and we're developing enough players at this moment in time. And look, I'd play Mikey Moore there on the left for loads and loads of games. I'm such a big fan of him than I would any of these, and even Tell, because Tell's got the right attitude. One thing about Tell, we haven't seen it from in the goal and what he's produced this season, but to cough up that extra 29 mil or whatever it is, he must have shown a lot in training. So then you have got to trust the recruitment team there. If he ticks a lot of boxes with all the staff at the club, then you get why we paid the extra fee. As fans, on the eye test, he's shown he's got the right attitude, but we need to see a lot more from Sol. He's got a ceiling, so we'll see. We'll see, won't we?
I think the issue with players like Garnacho at the club, and I think this has been Man U's problem for quite a few years now, they just have the completely wrong attitude, and they just, even if they have ability, which I think he does actually have some ability, due to his attitude and probably his work rate, that just holds him back from ever really significantly improving. He's probably too big-headed to take on a lot of advice, and he won't grow up as a player. And I think if you have one person like that in the squad, it can bring out the worst in other players, if you know what I mean. And I think it can be just detrimental because no one wants a dickhead around.
And I don't want anybody from Man U on the team, just given, the environment on that team. And also, Man U is a big club. If he's acting like that there, he's going to come here and he's going to think he's a big deal, and for him, he might think of it as a step down. I don't want that attitude. We need leaders, not, someone like him.
When you look at the attitude of people like Vicario and Danzo when they joined, completely the right attitude, wanted to come to Spurs, really wanted to be here, excited to be here. That's exactly the right attitude. You want the players to actually want to be at the club. You don't want players to go, oh, I guess I'm going to play for Spurs then, because they're going to be, they're not going to give everything they have. And I mean, maybe I could tolerate if like Lionel Messi in his prime reluctantly came to Spurs, but that's completely wrong attitude. You don't need that in the squad.
Yep, and also the issue is a pathway that we talked about, and bringing in another kid, it blocks a pathway for Mikey Moore or whoever else. We just no more youngsters. We have enough youngsters in the academy, and if they don't see a pathway to the first team, they're just going to leave. So just buy experienced players for the first 11. No more youngsters.
I get what you're saying with Spurs. If there is clearly bit anything training, that's why I think there's more to us. No, I disagree. I respectfully disagree. I mean, my opinion is the same, right? We, have activated it. That's what's caused the shit to the fan. And you've got Gibbs White himself saying, I want it resolved by this Monday before I had the issue with his girlfriend and all that. So we know the release clause has been activated, just Forrester being stubborn at the moment. Otherwise, this situation would have died. If there was no chance of it, it would have died, and it hasn't. And it's not just because of the media. Yeah. let's move on to. Yeah, we know there's been contact because it's been more from Simon's end, his agents and that pumping this out about him. So at Guns for left wing, yeah, Simons or Eze, I mean, the Eze thing, you think no one's in for him. Why? Now, first, he's not for sale. He's 60 million one lump payment with 8 million add-ons that we all know about, 68 million. And if he's not for sale, now Parish has gone, yeah, but we're selling for 320 mil payments, which means he is for sale, right? He is. I mean, he is for sale because he's down to last 2 years of his contract, I think. So he is for sale. That's when all players should be on sale if they don't sign up. And now Paris is probably worried he goes down to his last year, right? So it's a weird situation. I'd have thought Eze would have been snapped up by City or Liverpool before now, because Liverpool are buying everyone like Chelsea are, and Man City got the money. So what do you think of the Eze situation? I mean, he's with our agency as well, the CAA base agency, right?
Yeah, I mean, Eze, I think everybody wanted Eze for the past couple of years. I really wanted Eze. I rate him as a player, as a person. I'm just not sure how he fits in our squad right now. He's not really a left winger. He's more of a 10. So in isolation, in the vacuum, yes, I would love Eze. But for 60 million, does he improve us consistently, or is he that missing link that we need? I'm not sure. I think even though I love him as a player, I think that money can be spent either on a 6 or an 8. And Eze has the same issue for me as Klosevsky, where I do like him as a player as well, but I just don't feel like he has a position on the squad. He's not an 8, he's not a 10, he's not, a top winger in my opinion. And Eze is similar in my book. So I'm not going to complain if we get him, but sounds like he's going to go to Arsenal.
I wanted him last year. That was before with Dorgu. Actually, he went to Man United, the left back. They were the two I wanted in. We didn't get either. No surprise there. But yeah. Well, let's move on. Oh, please, this guy's come up again.
That.
Yeah.
Not happening.
No. Should we go? No. Move on. No. And he's happy at Atletico Madrid. I mean, some of this reporting, he's had a real good season with them, right? Good luck to him, But you're ex-Chelsea.
Yeah, it's not even that. Right. His family will not allow him to come to Tottenham. So
some of these rumours, you do wonder where they come from. Like, was he sat there, watching the Europa League final and went, "Oh, Spurs won," and they went, "Well, look, he's showing interest in Spurs, isn't he?" Technically, so he's obviously going to be going to Spurs. That's what some of these feel like. Yeah.
Okay, this guy's a lot in the news now. Paulino. Bayern want 30 mil for him. They paid more than that from Fulham, didn't they? He didn't get a great deal of game time with him last season. They're willing to offload. Spurs would prefer a loan to buy because of his age. I'm hearing that Bayern only want all the money up front. They want 30. And Spurs are sort of willing to go 20 because of his age. Yeah, I mean, is he 29 in September or something like that? I don't know what he is. So what are you going to get out of him? I mean, if you're a holding midfielder, no, it's not as though you've got to be boxed to box. It all depends if you're deep line. If you're a deep line midfielder, you could play there for years, basically. And centre-backs do the least amount of running as well in a game. Everyone else runs their socks off, usually. So I would take him.
I mean, look at a guy like Modric, right? He's still going, and he's 40. Even like Busquets at Barcelona, he was still going until his mid-30s. I think realistically you get 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, when Perisic joined us, he was in his mid-30s, and he was very good for a season before he got that injury. Yes, he's not going to be Lightning McQueen, but I think we need more players that are at least a bit experienced, especially if we're going to be bringing youth players through. that sort of experience really helps them. Good player. We seem to be doing a lot of business with Bayern all of a sudden. So
Wonder why.
Yeah.
Wonder why.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, let's. Yeah. Yeah. You wonder why. I mean.
yeah.
mm,
No,
I mean,
your Busquets example, James, like he was more of a technical player. I would love Polini on loan. And it's interesting if Frank actually wants a destroyer like him versus a ball playing six. If he does, he'd be a good fit. Plus, he's leader, he's a senior player. He can teach Archie Gray how to be a CDM. And I mean, he was really good in the Prem a couple of years ago. My concern is why didn't it work out at Byron? And another concern is I'm not sure if his legs are gone or not. Because if you look at Casemiro, like 1 year he was really good. His first year at United, the next season his legs are gone. So if Polini's legs are gone, can he really start day in and day out for us? I'm not sure. But on the other hand, I don't know if we need him to, right? If he's on loan, he can start against big teams. If we want to play the counterattacking football, but against smaller teams, Bentancur can be a six. He's more of a ball playing, midfielder. So if it's a loan with an option, I'll be all over that.
Yeah, that would be an option if we've got all this rumored money that's going to come into this club. What about this guy?
I mean, he'd be expensive, I think, right? He'd be, 60 mil? 50, 60 mil. He's a good player. He's also, I think, he's more of a destroyer type, but I think he'd be expensive.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be 60.
I mean, good player. I wouldn't say no to him. Again, I want that destroyer at the 6 to give us a different dimension that we've been lacking for a long time. So whether it's Gomez, Polina, I'd be happy with either.
Almost the sort of player that maybe Basuma was hoped to be at Spurs, but never really was.
Yeah. I mean, I would kill for Adam Wharton, but sounds like he's too expensive for us. And 70, 80 million for a kid with one season in the Prem. That's a lot of money.
Wall, Spurs have had lots of talks with Palace over Wharton.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they said
the room was 65 to about 72.5 mil, 75 mil of add-ons. And then again with Parish, it was the structure of payments. But they really like him, and he's homegrown. And the thing with the Gibbs White thing as well, and Hayden Hackney, those three are homegrown if you get one of them in, and we've only got 7 homegrown without bringing in Gibbs White in or something like that. So I'm sure this is why the way he last season at the end of the season to bring him in because he's homegrown as well. I mean, we'll probably only bring one of them in anyway, and centre back issue. I don't see any panic there with the youngsters we've got and what we've got to go and spend loads of money when we still want the DM first and we want a left back, really, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, my only, even though I'd love Adam Wharton, my only thing is with him is we do have Archie Gray. So the question is, both of them are young. With Polina, I can see he'll come in for a year or two. He'll play for us while we can bring on Archie Gray slowly. Gray can learn from him, and then he can be our CDM in a year or two. If it's Wharton, how him and Gray are going to play together, that's a lot of money spent on 2 youngsters. That's over 100 million plus on 2 young CDMs. So that would be an issue for me.
Yeah. Evening, Colin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're fine.
Good deal. Good deal. Been having some internet trouble myself, but I think I got it all working now. Yeah. So
all right, I'll come to you on this because this guy, our legend, has been a topic of conversation for weeks. Sonny wants to stay. He said for the Champions League. I get it. He's not chased the money. Will pre-season and / first half of the season determine his future? Could you see him basically waiting to see if he has a good half a season, stay, or if not, leave in January and perhaps go to Bayern and join Kane or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I think Sonny wants to play this season. I don't think he got as much playing time as he would have hoped for last season due to the injuries that he was playing through. I think that he still believes that he could be a starter for Spurs, and so, if he starts and gets some minutes and can perform to the level that we need him to, I think he'll stay. Personally, I know that he, was a great servant to the club last season and was happy to kind of be a little bit of a bit part player, but I think going forward, as long as he can get his injuries under control, I think he'll expect to be a starter. I'm not sure if you guys agree with that, but and not sure. I'm not saying that he necessarily should be, but I think he'll expect to be. And so, yeah, I mean, if he can get some minutes and contribute, I think he'll likely stay. But I'm interested to know what you guys think about that.
Eugene, do you want to go?
I love Sonny. He is my favorite Spurs player in a long, long time. But I think it's time for him to go for multiple reasons. First, I want to remember him as a legend. I mean, he's a legend, but I want to, to remember him as a top player. And given the way our fans are, 1 or 2 bad seasons, they're going to get on him. So I just want him to leave right now. And if you look at big clubs, if you look at Man City with KDB, all their players, Liverpool, when it's time, the players are moving on. And also with the homegrown issues and with the youngsters that are available, I just feel like it's best for both parties, for us and him, that I don't know if he should go to Saudi. He probably won't, but I'm sure there's a team in Germany that he can play on. I just don't think he is good enough to play in the Prem day in and day out. As Colin said, if he wants to be a squad option, that's great. I don't think he'll be happy about it. And just given everything else, given all our other issues, I want us to bring in a top left winger. And with Sonny on the bench, that's just not going to happen. So it's time for both parties to part ways. And then maybe in 2-3 years, he'll come back and get a lifetime deal as an ambassador and work for the club. But right now, it's best for all parties that we part ways.
Right. I want him to stay personally. It's interesting in the fans' perspectives on Son. I mean, he's a legend. Third, he will be third highest goal scorer if he gets another goal, I think, league goal next season. I want him to stay. I think we need his experience as we're in the Champions League, and I think it'd be a very good impact sub. And when I see him, he may have lost the afterburners. But the thing with Son, if you want to get the best out of Sonny, you do it. I mean, against Aston Villa away when we lost, I mean, he gave Cameron and the guy who did Madison, Bentancur, Cash. He did them for pace with the ball. They couldn't keep up with him. So, but people are talking about him taking players on. But then Ipswich away when we won 4-1, when he receives the ball in the right situation, when Archie Gray put that through ball through to him, and he ran on to get an assist. And then the other time Bentancur put the forward ball through to him, he's running on. The thing with our slow approach play last season, and we were crap, weren't we, is that our wingers tend to receive the ball with their backs to goal. So you got 2 choices. You either try and beat a player on a half turn, or you take the easy option, you pass the ball back. We were passing the ball back far too much, So I just don't think we need to move the ball far quicker from midfield to the final third, to the front three. We need to move that ball a bit quicker, and that takes movement. You can't expect Romero to always is our best defender on the ball, to pick out players on a sixpence. I mean, he does pick out some good passes, but you need movement in front of him. And a lot of times I watch at the stadium, I'm looking down, getting the aerial view. There's no movement at all. But staying on Sonny, I'd like him to stay. Get to January, make a decision then. There's no harm keeping him for half a season because we don't know how often he's going to play or whatever. And like you said, we've got a lot of games. We've got a minimum of 38 league games, 2 domestic cups if we don't go further, and then 8 European games in the Champions League. So that's 48. So we're going to need a squad. A lot of fans seem to be fixated on a first 11 rather than thinking a lot of the first 18, like Man City do or Liverpool do, something like that. You're never going to have 25 top players. You're never going to keep them happy. but you need enough balance in there to cater for injuries and things like that. So I wanted to stay. On the injury thing, just an interesting thing to you about fans' perspective on players, right? I love Romero. I know, like all players at the club, people either simply like him or don't like him or say he's always injured and always fit for Argentina, blah, 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 and all that. No one says that about VDV, do they? If you look at the injury comparison, Romero made 18 appearances last season, 1,416 minutes. VDV only made 13 appearances and over 1,015 minutes. Colin?
Sorry about that. Skip me. Come to me next.
All right.
Oh,
Eugene, do you think our fans can sometimes be a bit too harshly rejecting?
I mean, I think with Romero, the issue is not his injuries; it's him not wanting to sign a new contract and wanting to go to Spain. But I mean, but this is a bigger issue about our defenders. Both, if you play both Romero and VDV, you know for a fact they're gonna spend 30 if not 40% of the season, hurt. So we need two more center backs. So Romero, honestly, I rate him as a player. I like what he's all about. I mean, I think he makes a much better captain than Sonny, which is another issue, Adrian, just to going back to Son. Just stripping the captaincy from him if he doesn't play every single game and giving it to somebody else, that's going to be an issue. And I don't think he deserves that. So that's another kind of reason why, it's time to move on. But with Kuti, I rate him as a player. We know he can check out in few games. We know that he's going to be hurt. But if he decides to sign a new contract, I'm all for keeping him. And as far as the injuries are concerned, Danso and either Dragusin or Vuskovic, two more center backs, I think will be in decent shape. But we will definitely need to manage both Van der Vaan's and Romero's time on the pitch. We need to give them rest every other game or so, because we know for a fact they'll be missing games.
James, your take on Romero?
I don't know, it's tricky. I mean, I want him to stay, but I want him to stay because he wants to stay, if that makes sense. I think on the one hand, I get why you want to go to Atleti. Simeone, great manager. You're probably going to be consistently challenging for titles over there. And I would rather live in Madrid than London, personally. So I kind of get it, right? But on the other hand, I feel like you've really got to make your mind up. I do get it's somewhat difficult at Spurs. Because obviously we've had quite a lot of men. I mean, he signed under Conte. So then we've gone through Conte, Angelo, and Frank. I'm guessing maybe from his perspective, he just wants to sort of, see what Frank's like and then make a decision from there. But really, we need to get this sorted because we don't want him going cheaply or on a free. Because ultimately, we should be getting 60, 70 million for a player like him if he does go. And I mean, that's enough to reinvest and sign quality. But I don't think he's perhaps as significant of a loss as he would have been a little bit ago, because obviously we have Van de Ven now. We have Danzo, I think, is an excellent player. Even if I think Romero is still probably our best centre back, I think we have two very capable players also in the team. And I think you look at some of the young talent we've got coming through, I think we're fairly well stocked. But if he left, we'd have to, I'd expect us to go out and spend big money. But I mean,
well, with Dorrington back on loan at Edinburgh, we've got 8 centre backs if you include the kids, right?
Yeah.
Just one thing to add. I'm sorry to interrupt. I think
go on. That's what you're here for. Go on.
I just think if we sell him for 60 million, let's say, there are a lot of center backs out there that might not have the same ceiling as him, but are more consistent. Because the issue with him is he can have great games like we saw in the final, but throughout the season, he's not as consistent. I mean, last season, he himself cost us maybe 4 or 5 games, just not being fully there. So if we can get good money for him, given the talent available in this, I'm pretty sure we can get a good center back for 40 million. I would rather have consistency than him stepping up once every few weeks, having a top game, but then, another game or two costing us. So if he wants to go, sell him.
Yeah, I think that if that happened, if he was to go, Colin, I'll come to you. I think there's more chance of getting Guay, who's down to the last year of his contract, although he's been linked with Liverpool, bought everyone anyway. But because Zabani, although he's available and Spurs are willing to pay more for him, as PSG are in for him but won't meet the price. But what PSG will do, they will pay the wages, won't they? So, and the player knows he's guaranteed a French Cup and a championship in his first season as well. So.
Yeah, it's tough. You have to wonder how much pull Spurs would have. Just the prospect of living in London is a big deal for lots of people. I know that living in Paris is nothing to shake your head at either. So yeah, as far as Romero is concerned, some great points made by the rest of the panel. I mean, there were times last season before, where people were tired of him. I mean, balls over the top that he just couldn't track. Yeah, I mean, just good points from everybody. We're going to be playing in a different system that hopefully won't have him as exposed. I think he's probably excited for that. And I'm sure that he would like to play. He said as much. He would like to play at Atletico. And yeah, it's tough because, like everybody said, we want him to want to be here. We want him to sign a new contract so that we can, get what he's worth if he was to go. It's kind of a troubling situation. I don't really know the answer. I'm hoping that there's people that have more of an inside look than I do, that are really weighing these things out and determining, does he want to be here? Is he going to sign a new contract? Atletico aren't going to pay what we want. We know that for a fact, or close to a fact. It's a troubling situation. I'm glad I don't have to make the choice. I think we should keep him. I think having him this season, I think this season's, I don't want to say make or break for us, but it's an important season, Champions League. I want him to be here this season, and I hope that doesn't come back to bite us. If it's up to me, I keep him this season and then reassess, during the season, hoping that I can get him to sign a new contract. If that's not the right choice down the line, oops, but that's what I'm going with now. Keep him, hope he signs a new contract.
Yeah, I mean, if all we can get this season is 40 million, I'm pretty sure we can get similar amount next season. And just ultimately, again, even though, like, on one hand I said he's inconsistent, we don't have anybody else who can play the ball like him. He's arguably the best ball playing center back in the league. And Van der Ven or anybody else, they just can't do what Romero does. So it's not going to be easy replacing him with the ball playing center back. However,
if the difference between us getting Champions League and us not getting Champions League is Romero, then he's worth having, because Champions League is like 50-60 million in terms of prize money, right? Europa League, also you get money, but that 40 million difference, and also league money position, all matches, that's worth keeping him. Unless
he downs tools and cost us like last season, because I remember the game against Wolves, I think he cost us 3 goals. Arsenal, like, if he's engaged and if he wants to play, then I agree. But if he's angry about not being allowed to go and he downs tools, then it's just going to be a distraction and an issue, because we all know how he can be. So it's a tough one for sure.
It really depends on how he gets on with Frank as well, I think. Because, I mean, different styles. I think Ange is one of those people who can deal with all types of people to an extent, man management wise. I think Frank can as well, but Frank's quite obviously Scandinavian, and I don't know how well that sort of leadership will work with someone like Romero. Hopefully it'll work really well. It might not. I don't know, but
that's a good point.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, look, even if he says, look, I'm going to do this season, I'll give everything this season, next season I might want to go. Let's just see how we go this season. I think that's perfectly reasonable if he says something like that. I wouldn't really take much issue with that. I would take issue with the downing tools, but to some extent, I don't know, Frank. I think if he did down tools, Frank would just tell him, just wouldn't play him. I think he'd play someone else and he'd get rid of him.
I mean, that's a tough right. If he's a captain, like, that's very, difficult thing to manage. A player of his stature who just isn't there mentally,
Yeah.
and the impact on the dressing room. It's a tough thing to navigate.
Yeah.
For coaches.
On the other hand, do you think, like, if you're Atletico Madrid and you want this player and you're Simeone, and you haven't been able to get him because you just don't have the money to pay the valuation, and he downs tools, do you think that maybe makes you reassess whether or not you want him a little bit? Because you think, well, if he can be fickle enough to do that, how don't we know he won't do that to us?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe.
This guy's band's up. I mean, apparently 9 of his signings were in the cup final, guys. Do you want him back? Either of you? Colin, you come and you haven't been here long. We'll let you have a bit of a chat.
I'm not opposed to having him back, but I feel like if we haven't heard anything about it and they haven't made moves to get it secured, I mean, clearly, yeah, he's been banned or whatever, however you want to phrase that. He's not been able to do his job. But I think that if we had wanted him back here, we would have already been making moves to get that done, whether that's talking to his representatives or people. I don't know. It just is weird to me that that's not done already. If it's something that we wanted to do, personally, I wouldn't mind it. I like the type of players he's after. He's been able to get us some really good deals, but I just don't see it happening for some reason. Personally, again, I'm not opposed to it. He's great. The memes around him are great. Let's let him cook. Let's get him back in the kitchen. But no, I don't know. For some reason, I don't see it happening. Just weird to me that we haven't heard more about it up until this point.
Eugene, does he stay as a consultant or do we get him back? Or does it matter, really?
I don't know if it matters, right? As long as he's involved, it's a positive, right? We all heard about his contacts in Italy, but he's becoming this mythical figure. He's like Bigfoot. He comes out once in a while. People see him on the phone, talking to somebody, but nobody knows exactly what he's doing. So yeah, I mean, he did bring us some good players when he was working with Conte. Now, do we want him to be involved? Yeah, why not? If he can work, with everybody else, sure. The more the better. Again, he has his contacts. He seems like he knows Italy very well. The whole dark arts and in scouting and management, it's all good. So sure, whether he's a consultant or whether he's an employee, it doesn't matter.
James?
Yeah, I mean, I want him involved. It's always helpful to have someone with mafia connections associated with you.
Exactly.
I mean, if Maricanis is causing too much of a fuss, I mean, I'm sure he knows a guy. Paratici. I'm sure Paratici knows a guy who can get it sorted.
Yeah. He'll be sleeping with the fishes, yeah?
Yeah, or horse's head in his bed, something like that. No, I like Paratici. I find all the jokes about him he's actually been at Spurs with a fake mustache and it's his brother or something. I find all those jokes quite funny.
Yeah.
I think he's very, very good at I want to say the Levy kind of deals, the good financial finds, players out of nowhere. He's very good at that. He has a lot of contacts. He can get deals done very well. And I think if he's just honestly a consultant, it's not really much risk. And I don't think it hurts to have different guys in the recruitment, department. One guy who does young players, one guy.
There was a rumor that if he was brought back, we yet to see how this plays out, that he would be more the recruitment guy for the oven-ready players because of his contacts. And because Johan Langer's been more involved with younger players, that Johan Langer would take a separate role. I don't know if this is true or absolute bullshit. I mean, nothing's been confirmed. Maybe they both do what they do because we know that Paratici is very knowledgeable about, the Mediterranean, whereas Langer's probably more knowledgeable about Scandinavia and Northern Europe. So whether there's anything in that, I don't know. I could see it if it happened. They might be given 2 different job titles, So we wait and see. If he stays as a consultant, that's good because he earns his corn doing that. And to me, if we sign him up, we sign him up. So.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to get a guy who is very good at signing young players, with a lot of potential, and get those sorts of deals in the club, and also have a guy who can go out and get a first choice central midfielder at a pretty cheap rate. Having both of those sorts of styles certainly doesn't hurt. It's not like having a a French chef and I don't know, a Spanish chef. You know, nice bit of fusion cuisine.
Right, before we move on to the last point, we've got 110 of you viewing us on various platforms, which is fantastic on a Tuesday night. Yeah. Just a little plug for the channel. Those of you who haven't viewed us before, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the YouTube logo. We can't see it, we're live. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you like content, you know, leave a comment even. Shows go out every Tuesday. I host Tuesday show. I'll be doing them with Tom with the Champions League and one of our admins. We've got 3 other admins. Drewzilla will host Friday show at 10 o'clock as well, UK time BST. And he will host, I'll co-host and help him. And EMF hosts a Sunday show, and I co-host with him on a Sunday. So we do 3 shows a week. Obviously, we pride ourselves in bringing you good content. We put a lot of thought into the questions to make it as interesting as possible for you. So we also have a Facebook group with 14,500 members, which I started 6 years ago when the stadium opened. We've got a Facebook page with over 300 because the videos go out there. And I'm sure some of you viewing us now, you'll be viewing us on XCOM because we've got the Spurs Diehards on XCOM. That's got about 3,250 there. And it's gradually growing and growing and growing. And that's only been going about a year. So it's sort of smashed it to start off with, yeah. So like I say, big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to all the questions. We've got quite a good little loyal following. And long may it continue and long may we grow. And like I say, give the videos a thumbs up because it helps the algorithm. And with that, all I can do is thank you all again and thank all my guests, and you know who you are. And we move on to the last point, which is, I'm sure we know something's happening because we're actually spending money, Eugene. Something's got to be happening for us to even getting kudos. Something's happening.
I mean, I thought it was. We got kudos. We triggered the release clause for Gibbs White, so it was exciting times. But now it's silence again. But based on the rumors, based on what everybody's saying, there's definitely something happening. Whether it's the naming rights that we finally sold after all these years, or if it's the investment that's coming in from Saudi, we'll see. I think we'll hear about it soon. Where there's smoke, there's fire for sure. With Colin stepping down, with rumors about Levy backing off from footballing operations. So there's definitely something happening. So if we sign 1 or 2 top players, then we'll know for a fact there is investment coming in.
Yeah,
but
it's not
I think another month or 2, we'll know for sure exactly what it is.
Yeah, Colin, it's just not the money from the Europa League and the expected revenue from the Champions League, which will be 80 or 90 million, because that's not the Levy way. So
yeah, since when do we pay release clauses, right? I mean, the Morgan Gibbs White thing, if this had been Spurs of years past, Levy would have come in with a 35 million pound bid or 40 million pounds, you know, with his release clause of 60. I think that just that alone should be enough to tell us there's something going on. You know, like this is Daniel Levy we're talking about, and he's paying a release clause first offer. Yeah, so I think there's something going on, and it's exciting. You know, I kind of flip-flop back and forth whether I think that I would be morally like above us getting some kind of financial injection from like Saudi government, or, you know, because, you know, a lot of that money is tainted with bad things. There's bad things associated with it. And so a part of me is like, no, I don't want that. You know, I like the fact that we've been doing things kind of our way, self-sustaining, getting money from different, you know, revenue sources from the new stadium and things like that. But then again, I want to compete. I'm a selfish guy, so I can't decide whether or not I'm okay with it. But yeah, I do think that there is something going on, whether, you know, like I said, that's Saudi government or some fund, you know, but yeah, there's absolutely in my mind some kind of injection of cash coming in that we haven't had before. So
yeah,
James?
I mean, he's gone crazy. I mean, I don't know if Thomas Frank is like such a great manager that he's managed to get Daniel Levy to open up his checkbook. Maybe he's just so charmed, right? Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of investment going on. I don't know, to be completely honest, but it does seem like there's some sort of large windfall coming through, be it a significant naming rights for the stadium deal, which I mean that's taken 6 bloody years to happen, right? You'd expect that to be hundreds of million, probably like 10 million a year or something like that sort of area. A new shirt deal again. Well, we won the Europa League, we'll be in the Champions League. I'm sure in some of our sponsorship contracts, it will state that if we're in the Champions League, that we get more money or something or other, because there's more eyeballs on it, sort of thing. I would like the AIA. No idea what they do, by the way. I would like it if their logos on our shirts were like white or blue as opposed to red. Like we'll take a little bit less money if you can change that. Looking at Saudi investment, I don't know. I mean, how much the club is going to be sold. I do remember ENIC, was it a year ago, 2 years ago? They did some equity, something or other, to put money into the club. There is definitely something happening on ENIC's side, because obviously Joe Lewis is being charged with like insider trading and other financial dodgy stuff, and someone else is running it, and maybe I know his daughter or something is actually
Vivian,
he's really passionate about Spurs, so maybe someone who's more interested in it as a football club than just purely a financial entity is running it and saying, you know what, let's try and compete, because ultimately Spurs are the best run football club from a business perspective of any top team. Solely from the business perspective, it's self-sustainable, it's relatively profitable, and it's got an incredibly high valuation. So if you pump some money in, it makes sense. You don't have to do any infrastructure work. You can just spend all the money on players and look to go forward. So it kind of makes sense from a Saudi perspective. Morally, questionable.
See a few guys. Go on, finish off.
Potentially morally questionable, but equally, just acknowledge that it's. I mean, Newcastle owned by dodgy people. So.
There was rumoured of the 20-year naming rights deal, right? At 25 million a year. That's 500 million. But the caveat to that is no one's going to give you 500 million straight up like that. If it's 25 million a year, that will just cover the interest debt on the stadium, right? Which is nice to have. It's nice to have it because it's a one bill you haven't got to worry about. So that's that. I'm inclined to think we've got a new shirt deal coming, because I think the shirt deal's got about another year to go. And I definitely believe there's rumoured investment as well. Now, the shirt deal could be worth about 60 million a year, which is a player, really. So I'm going for I'm really going for the rumoured Saudi or USA investment of probably about 300 mil, which they'll probably purchase a chunk of ENIC shares for that, rather than have to go through. If you have a buyout and all that, there's rules, you have to obey. I think a chunk of ENIC shares will be bought by an investor, and the money, maybe, because we've got Champions League money as well, and the money, so that could be 130 mil there or something in revenue, plus extra sponsorship money, as you said. So if you got 300 million, even if they parked 100 mil to build the hotel and do the women's training ground, we're still going to be spending more than we've ever spent at transfer, and we look like we're getting quality players in. Do you think what I said makes sense or not? Any of you?
Yeah, okay. No, it makes sense. Because ENIC own 85% of the club.
No, 70. About 70.
Oh, okay.
Levy owns. There's 30,000 small shareholders. Levy owns. ENIC are about 70-point-something%. It might be 71, and Levy owns about 29% himself of that. So, yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in. King Hoddle's comment about he says, whatever the source, I hope it's a continuous, money source and not just a one-off injection to steady the ship after a disastrous league season. That's a really good point that I hadn't considered enough. Is this something that's just being done to ensure we don't finish 17th again? It would be great if this is the way we could spend from now on. Because like we were all saying, this is different. This isn't something that we're used to, and it'd be really cool if this continued and we were able to just spend like this. And this is the way that Spurs operate, from now on. So I'm really good at not picking a side with things and just saying I don't know, but that's interesting. And this is another one of those situations where I don't know, but it's interesting. So
Well, if you look at it right, then to me it has to be a phased buyout. And you've got to be wealthy to do this. If it was a Google that are worth $1 trillion, or Elon Musk because it could be called SpaceX because it looks like a spaceship or something like that, you could get it. I mean, to me, why is anyone mad enough to want to buy a football club? No matter how much money you put in or how much money you make, your fans will always want you to spend more and more and more. And if you go skint and go, fans won't care. They'll just want someone else to come in and take your place, because that's the nature of football. It is the nature of football. To me, I mean, I'll give this fault. If you're buying Tottenham Hotspur, you're buying them because it's a jewel in the crown. It's in London. You've also got them 30 other events each year as well. So if you are one of these companies that are worth $1 trillion or mega amount of billions, then you're buying this club, right, to enhance your global prestige. By that bar hanging in the Paxton End, that Sky Bar, as we call it, hasn't been leased out. I'm willing to bet that's part of the package. So whoever gets it would obviously get that for every concert, every other event there that they wanted to. And if a real big partner comes in to take a chunk, then if it was an Elon Musk or a Google, then they're going to have hundreds of partners anyway, maybe thousands. They're all going to want to sponsor Spurs or be a part of the action. It's the way it goes. So I don't see you otherwise. Look, you don't buy a football club to make money.
No.
I mean, you don't, because there's very few that do. I mean, we have made money, and the reason we've made money is to cover the debt. Danny Levy's taxed me as a Spurs fan with high prices to help reduce this debt that we're in. And so what I'd like to see is someone coming in and reduce our debt. Now, if it means a phased buyout over a few years, fair enough. You know, but
I mean,
what's your guys' take before we finish?
To some extent, like, the owners of Liverpool have somewhat made money off Liverpool by just the asset becoming worth more over time. Like, they don't directly have a higher cash flow, but like the asset they bought is worth a lot more now.
Yeah,
whatever they've put in, the equity is worth a lot more, and that's kind of the same for Enoch, right? Like the equity value of Spurs is gone from like tens of millions to like billions, right? You can do that. Obviously, you have the people who want to own football clubs because of, ego, those sorts of things. I mean, some of these people in the Middle East are just like incomprehensibly rich, right? Like, they own 50 supercars. I mean, look at Abramovich, who owned Chelsea. He just wanted to buy a football club, and he spent billions on Chelsea, not because of any like grand plan. He just wanted to own a football club, And I mean, once you get to the point of being a billionaire, money kind of multi-billionaire, you can just kind of spend money, millions of pounds, like we would, pick up, have a pint.
And to add to that, I mean, Eugene, if you gentrify the area of Tottenham, which is one of the poorest areas in London, right? If you gentrify it, the land value goes up and the property values go up accordingly again.
Yeah, but I just think when we're dealing with that kind of money, that kind of investment, as Callum said, there's always we should separate the moral aspect from, being a fan. So I think, there's sports watching going on. We all know that. All that money that's being put into football clubs right now, we all know where that money comes from, whether it's from Qatar, Saudi, or even the US. So from that perspective, of course, there's an issue. So, but given what you said, Adrian, for me, if we do get investment, I would rather get it from Saudi rather than the States. For the reason is, if you look at the US owners, they treat the clubs like business, right? They want to generate some profits. If you look at the Saudi, at Qatar, for them, it's not really a business. It's more about their brand, right? Because they have more money than God. So from that perspective, if the Saudis do buy us or invest, I don't think they care much about, making the Tottenham. I mean, they can invest like the city owners, right? They rebuilt the neighborhood around their ground, but they're going to treat the club more of a plaything rather than a business. And as a fan, if I'm being selfish, that's what I want. If the US investors come in, it's going to be a different thing. So
it's a good point.
it would be very easy for them to do that at Spurs as well, because we already have the best facilities in the world, the best stadium in the world, all the actual difficult infrastructure stuff that takes a long time to get done in this country because some old person who cares about the ants who live down the road thinks they'll be upset about it, so it doesn't happen for 4 years. All that's been dealt with. So now all you really have to do is, if you want to, you can do the commercial side, the local area, you can regenerate that, which, you can do that, make some money off that if you want to. It's a nice thing to do, feel good about yourself, right? Wash your hands of blood you've perhaps spilled. And then you can basically do what Abramovich did at Chelsea, which is just, okay, here's 400 million, just go sign whoever you think the best manager and players in the world are, and just win me something every season, because I like sport and I want my team to win.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we get in a guy like that, great. That'd be awesome.
You're never going to get an owner that isn't politically insensitively tainted by some group coming up and saying like he's exploited us, blah blah blah, whatever. It's just, it's not the way the world works.
You don't get that rich without stepping on a few people.
Yeah.
Now, in some cases, it's more egregious than others, obviously, and sports washing is very real. But I think the important thing would be, if the Saudi investment did happen, is that we as fans collectively understand that. And the big thing that annoyed me when Newcastle bought out by Saudi owners was it became other fans like attacking Newcastle fans, and Newcastle fans indirectly defending the Saudi ownership, when in reality it should be football fans collectively saying that we're not going to buy into sports washing and we should all criticise it regardless of what club we support. But I mean, if there's an eccentric billionaire who isn't a horrible person, who's Saudi, who just wants to own a football club, please come. I don't mind. I mean, they already have the money. If they want to, they're going to spend it somewhere. They may as well spend it at Spurs.
I mean, I would rather deal with Saudis than Qatar, right? So I mean, again, there are levels, but Saudis is one thing. Qatar is a whole different thing. So, but again, it's at this point, if we want to compete as a club with cities, with Newcastles, something has to happen. So
yeah, we don't want what happened to Man United at the time when the Glazers come and milked about 600 million out of the club, and all right, and then the fan, all right, they've got enormous support throughout the planet because them and Liverpool got the best pedigrees in the Premier League, and they've got the shirt sales and everything else. But they took a lot of money out of that football club, and all right, they were forced to put some back in before Radcliffe's coming. It looks like he's wasting his money. There's always a funny how these businessmen come in and think they can treat a football club like a normal business. It just doesn't work that. And they think they know about football. They don't. That guy that went in Everton, he spent 500 million quid and got absolutely nowhere. Right. So, yeah. Right, guys. It's been really good. We had a great show. We got up. It's a shame to leave with 120 viewers, but those of you watching us on various platforms, we'll be back Friday at 10 o'clock UK time BST. Drew Zilla will be hosting. I want to thank all those in the chat for their comments, all of those viewing us on various platforms. And as I say, if you like our content, like the mature and sensible debates we have on Spurs Diehards, please hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. With that, I'll thank my guests and I'll see them in the back room. And I'm going to play you out with this. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.